Hello again. How are you today? Welcome. Everything okay? Everything okay? Everything okay? Salto el is everything okay? Pero me como la el is. I hope so. For me, everything's fine. I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for asking. I'm fine. Everything okay with you? Yeah? Things are going okay? Yeah? All's well? Todo está bien? All's well? Con apóstrofe S. Todo está. All is well? All's well? Yeah. All's well that ends well. Okay. So, let's finish our story about Natasha. This is the final episode of Natasha Zarakovich. After this, you will never hear her name again for the rest of your life if you don't buy the book. All right. But here you have the story of Natasha. She's a chemist. She lives and works in Moscow. She lives with her mother, who is a widow, and with her younger brother, who's a student. She is studying for the English exam, which would the national exam, official exam, which would automatically give her a raise in her salary. And finally, she was invited by her cousin, Andrei Zaragovich, who lives in Scotland, in Glasgow, with his parents. And so she flew to Glasgow. Andrei paid for it, because Andrei got a new job with 2 times more, twice the amount of salary. So he invited Natasha, and she flew to London and to Edinburgh. And there she spent maybe 10 days. And then finally, Andrei and Natasha went to London to spend 2 or 3 days. And now she's leaving. Yes. She has had a wonderful time. Last night they had dinner in an Italian restaurant. And they spent 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours. Dos y media horas. Así se dice en inglés. No 2 horas y media. 2 y media horas, 3 y media horas, 8 y media semanas, 8.5 weeks, 3.5 years, 3 y medio años. Suena raro en español, pero sin embargo con una unidad no. Es un día y medio y una mitad, a day and a half, an hour and a half, a year and a half, siempre con el artículo, nunca el número. A year and a half, a day and a half, a week and a half, a month and a half, 2.5 months, 3.5 months, 4.5 months, 3.5 years, 2.5 hours. They spent 2.5 hours in the restaurant, no? Yeah. ¿Dónde estoy? Talking about Moscow and Scotland. Natasha was sorry to be leaving. Sentía tener que marcharse. She was sorry to be leaving. Sentía estar marchándose. Otra vez futuro continuo. Natasha was sorry to be leaving. She had pluscuamperfecto por un tubo, había tenido. She had a wonderful time. Despite the wet weather, she had met at least 30 of Andrei's friends. One of his friends, Stuart, had spent a lot of time with Natasha. He had studied Russian for 2 years, and he spent the whole time trying to use the language with her. ¿Qué pasó? One of Andrei's friends, by the name of Stuart, apparently se ha caprichado con ella, como se dice en inglés. I never remember. He's become se ha infatuado. De fatuo. To infatuate. He's become infatuated with Natasha. And he studied Russian for 2 years at the university. So he's trying to use Natasha. He's trying to talk to her in Russian. Do svidanya, spasiba. I only know 2 words. Yeah, spasiba means thank you. And do svidanya means goodbye. Thank you and goodbye. All right. I spent 3 weeks in Russia 50 years ago. but I've forgotten how to say hello. I don't remember. But in any case, so Stuart, I think, he told her he was going to contact the largest school. Stuart a friend of Andres had spent a lot of time with Natasha, and he had studied Russian for 2 years, and he spent the whole time, el entero tiempo, se dice en inglés, the whole time, trying to use the language with her. He told her that he was going to contact the largest language school in Glasgow to see if they might need a Russian teacher in the future. If so, he would write her and invite her back to Scotland, this time to live there. Natasha was open to the idea, but she had a good job in Moscow and was moving up in the Ministry of Health. It would be a tough decision if she did have a firm offer to settle and work abroad. Well, so what Stuart said, Natasha, I'm going to contact the largest language school in Glasgow to see if they need a Russian teacher. I'll write to you if they have an opening, si tiene una plaza. Decimos en si tiene una apertura, si una plaza abierta. If they have an opening, I'll write to you, Natasha, and you can come and live in Moscow and live in Glasgow. Now, Natasha, of course, said, well, I appreciate it, Stuart, thank you very much, but I have a good job in Moscow, and I'm moving up, subiendo el escalafón. I'm moving up in the Ministry of Health, Ministerio de Salud, in the Ministry of Health. And however, she hasn't ruled out the possibility. She hasn't ruled out. Rule out is to rule. Rule es una regla. Una regla. Hay muchas reglas en esta casa. There are a lot of rules. Rules and regulations. Rules. To rule is regir, como un rey. ¿Quién rige en este país? Pues Felipe VI. Who rules? Okay, the ruler is el regidor, el que rige. The ruler. Ruler también es una regla de medir. Yeah. It's a ruler. Ruler. But to rule out, si añades out, todo cambia. Descartar. Este no. To rule out. Yeah. I want an attractive pencil. The blue one's no. I rule out the blue. The pink, I'll rule out the pink. I need to rule out more pencils. I can rule out the yellow. I want the most attractive pencil. I'll rule out the blacks and the purples. Out. I'll rule out the orange pencil. Oh, and I'll rule out the brown pencils as well. Tough decision. Yeah, eeny, meeny, miny, moe, catch a tiger by the toe. If he hollers, make him pay $50 every day. My mother told me to pick this one. My mother told me to pick this very one. Okay, okay, I'll keep this one. It's white. However, what's interesting, maybe in front of the camera you can't tell. Tell aquí no es decir, tell es percibir o ver. Probably you can't tell. But it's a very attractive white. ¿No te das cuenta? Es un blanco que llama la atención. It really is. White. No, white no. White. There's a lot of white here. Somos inmaculados aquí. Yeah, we are immaculately white. But red is the devil, right? Yes, ruby red. All right. In any case, pinto, gorgorito en inglés es eeny, meeny, miny, moe, que no significa nada. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe, aprecio un tigre por el dedo gordo del pie. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe, catch a tiger by the toe. Y si grita, if he hollers, que es un alarido, hollers, make him pay, haz que pague, $50 every day. Y luego mi madre me dijo que eligiera este. My mother told me to pick this one. All right. My mother told me to pick. También nos vale choose, pero se suele usar el verbo to pick más que choose en el día a día. All right. My mother told me to pick this one. So this pencil is the one I picked now. So she needs to make a decision, but she will probably continue in Moscow for the rest of her life. She'll probably meet a man, get married, and settle in Moscow. But Natasha needs to take care of her mother. And her younger brother is a student. Soon he'll finish his studies and become independent, maybe. But Natasha's mother needs her. Natasha's mother is 60 years old. She's in relatively good health. And so Natasha loves her mother very much and will probably continue living with her mother. If Natasha gets married and settles with her husband, maybe it will include la suegra. Okay, who knows, the mother-in-law. But let's continue. So, goodbye, Natasha. It's been a pleasure. Yes, maybe someday we will meet again. Who knows? It's possible, Marta, that I will never talk about Natasha again in the rest of my life. I created Natasha. She was born. I created her in 1998. Yes, 27 years ago. So, aquí tiene 28 años. Pues debería tener 27. So she's, but in any case, I created her 27 years ago. And I have come back to her life many, many times, teaching English, and maybe in the future. But I'm sure she will be happy the rest of her life. Yes, in this book. Aquí está. And she's in this book, living in this book. Grammar. Like and as. What's the difference between as and like? Yes, it's very simple. Yo trabajo como profesor. I work as a teacher. I work like a teacher. Trabajo como si fuera profesor, pero como hago las veces de profesor, como si fuera profesor, pero no lo soy. Yo trabajo como profesor, pero a veces trabajo como un esclavo aquí. I work as a teacher, but sometimes I get the impression that I'm working like a slave. All right, like means similar a. As es que lo eres. She works as a television producer. I work as a teacher. Yes. As también es a medida que vayas llegando, verás. As you get closer, you'll see. As. Sí, conforme te hagas más mayor, te darás cuenta. As you get older, you'll realize certain things. As you get older, you'll realize that I'm right. I am the voice of wisdom. La voz de la sabiduría, right? I'm the voice of wisdom. And as you get older, you'll realize as in like. Yes. There was a famous commercial many years ago on American television about Winston cigarettes. It was Winston. And the slogan, the jingle was, Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. Winston sabe bien como debería saber un cigarro. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. And the grammarian said, well, no, Winston tastes good as a cigarette should. In this case, it really doesn't matter. The grammarians are correct, but people use like in these cases. Like in Spain, el leísmo, le vi ayer. Everybody in Spain, hasta en Sevilla, dicen, no, le vi ayer, no lo vi ayer. A un hombre, le vi ayer. However, it's incorrect. It's lo vi. Le is an indirect object, not a direct object. However, it's so common in Spain, not in Mexico or Argentina or Chile, in Latin America, no. But in Spain, it's so common that the Royal Academy of the Language, says it's correct. So, le vi ayer is correct. Ahora, si ves una mujer, ves la vi ayer, aquí sí. O dices le vi. La vi ayer. Pero es hombre, le vi. That's not right. But in any case, languages evolve, and you can't stop them. Es como el riada de agua. You can't stop it. And languages evolve. Evolucionar in inglés, la palabra evolución is the same in English and Spanish. Evolution. But the verb, no. We say evolver. Yo evuelvo. I evolve. Okay. Evolvemos is nuestra evolución. We evolve. All right. Languages evolve, and you can't stop them. So the leísmo, it's interesting between Latin America. It will be interesting in the next 50 years to see if the leísmo travels to Latin America. Probably not, because so many people from Latin America coming to Spain, maybe el loísmo, el lo se reimpondrá. Lo vi ayer. Yes. It's strange. Even un purista diría. For example, you have Don Pedro, and you have la criada, the maid, and the maid is in love with her master, and she says, Don Pedro, addressing, said, Don Pedro, lo amo. I love you. I love you is lo amo. Sounds strange here, le amo. No, te amo, le amo. But it's interesting about Spanish. But this is an English class. Grammar, expressions. How much time do we have, Marta? Enough. We have enough time. Page 176. At the top. Not at the bottom, nor in the middle. ¿Crees que al final aprenderán esto? Ni. Not at the bottom, nor in the middle, but, sino en la parte superior. You're off your rocker. I love this. Rocker is mecedora. A rocker. A rocking chair. Se dice más rocking chair que rocker, pero los dos nos valen. Rocking chair. I used to have a rocking chair, but it broke. It was a fantastic rocking chair. In fact, I remember my wife and I went to a furniture shop to buy a couch, sofa, fine. And to kill the time, I sat down in a rocking chair, and I liked it so much that incluye esto. And we bought the couch and the rocking chair. But the rocking chair broke, finally. It was a special rocking chair. And I think many people liked it so much that they abused it, and it broke. But a rocker or a rocking chair. Rock is una roca, no? Las rocas. Rocks. Yes. But to rock is mecer. To rock. Rock-a-bye baby in the treetop when the wind blows. Es una nana. It's a lullaby. A rocking in the cradle. Rock-a-bye baby in the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. Cuando sopla el viento, la cuna se irá moviendo de un lado a otro. Rock. Oscilar. Rock. Rock music. Rock. ¿Por qué música rock? porque meces el cuerpo, mueves el cuerpo, oscilas. You rock and roll, que es literalmente mecer y rodar. Eso es rock and roll. Mece y rueda. Rock and roll. I dig rock and roll music. Yeah. Now, to be off your rocker, off fuera de tu mecedora, o sea, has salido volando de la mecedora. ¿Qué significa eso? Means te has vuelto loco. Estar mal de la cabeza. Írsele la olla. Se te ha ido la olla. You're off your rocker. También se dice, has perdido las canicas. Has perdido tus canicas. You lost your marbles. Yeah. You've lost your marbles. We say both. But I remember a television show. Un concurso televisivo. Concurso televisivo. En inglés se dice game show. Como juego. Game show. I remember a game show when I was a teenager in the United States. I don't remember the game show. But there were maybe 3 contestants. Contestants son los invitados ahí para competir. Contestantes, contestants. 3 contestants, each one sitting in a rocker. And next to them, there was a glass container with marbles, con muchos canicas. Every time they answered a question wrong, several marbles disappeared and exited and finally, if you lost all your marbles, fuera, you were off your rocker. O sea, has perdido todas las canicas, yes. Has perdido la olla, se te ha ido la olla. And so you lost your marbles, you're off your rocker. He's off his rocker. Has pagado $1,000 por eso? Se te ha ido la olla. You paid $1,000 for that? You must be off your rocker. All right. Number 2, the oldest trick in the book. El truco más viejo del mundo. Decimos del libro de trucos. The oldest trick in the book. Yes. No puedo creer que te dejaras engañar. Eso es el truco más viejo del mundo. I can't believe you fell for it. Caíste por ello. You fell for it. That's the oldest trick in the book. Se dice mucho. The oldest trick in the book. Yes. Como embaucar a alguien o tomarle el pelo. That's the oldest trick in the book. Sí, how do you say? De la estampita. El timo de la estampita. That's the oldest trick in the book. Come on. That's the oldest trick in the book. I'm on a roll. Estoy en una rodada. Roll is rodar. The Rolling Stones. I'm on a roll. I am on a roll. You're on a roll. She's on a roll. They're on a roll. Estoy en racha. Estás en racha. Están en racha. Hemos ganado 8 seguidos. 7. Otro 7. 7 again. Yeah. 7. Wow. Marta, we're on a roll. We are on a roll. Estamos en una rodada o algo así. We're on a roll. So to be on a roll. And finally, one more. How much time? Se me va. Oh, excuse me. Enhorabuena por el ascenso. Estás en racha. Congrats. Congratulations. Or congrats on the promotion. Congratulations on. Ojo. My Spanish friends say, congratulations for your radio program. No, we don't say congratulations for. Se entiende, no pasa nada. Congratulations on. Y últimamente, desde hace ciertos años, se dice congrats. Congrats. Congrats on your promotion. You're on a roll. On a roll. And finally, on a shoestring. This business, todo este tinglao mío, this thing of television, radio, 450 teachers, Vaughan Town, everything, all of it started on a shoestring. Partió de un cordón de zapato. Shoestring. Se dice así. Cuando partes de cero más patatero, de la nada, se llama shoestring. Inicié este negocio de la nada, sin ninguna inversión. On a shoestring. On a shoestring. And it's interesting, los cordones de zapatos, we don't say shoestrings, we say shoelaces. Laces, como lazos. Shoelaces. Shoestring is an old word from 100, 200 years ago. But the expression, to start on a shoestring, con poquísimo dinero, apretadísimo. Sin un trabajo estable, Pedro tenía que vivir apretadísimo. Without a regular job, Pedro had to live on a shoestring. Aunque él empezó desde cero y con poquísimo dinero, Alan logró que su negocio fuera un éxito. Starting from scratch and on a shoestring budget, Alan still managed to make a success of his business. See you tomorrow.